they are joining, just we will waiting some time.
Yes, sir. I will wait 5 minutes for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir.
My voice visible?
Yes, sir.
It's visible, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, visible, sir.
Yeah. So good morning, sir. Good morning, all the students. So today we are starting with the first common classes for both the College of Veterinary Science of Aizawl as well as the Jalukhi. So we'll just start it with the general histology today, and maybe after 2 classes, Professor Patil sir will take you to another topic in the genitive tissue. So first, before going to the basic tissues, we will first discuss about the cytology. Okay. So yes. So general histology, what you means? What is the aim of the histological studies as well as the cytological studies? So the main aim of the histological as well as the cytological studies to understand the structures of the living cells as well as the tissues and the organs. So for such studies means to understand the structures of the living cells, tissues and organs, first we must have the tools, and that tools is the microscope. And the microscope is varies from, as you know, as we find in our laboratory, from the simple microscope to the high power or high resolution electron microscopes. So with any sort of these microscopes, we can study the structures of the living cells, tissues and organs. But one point is that as the living cells, due to their relative thickness and transparency, they are unsuitable object for such studies. Because of their thickness as well as the transparency, they are unsuitable for such studies. That's why these living cells or the tissues or organs, they must undergo a chemical changes, means they have to fix with their chemical substances, and then they have to process through a histological protocols, and the sections can be prepared, and further they can be stained with certain dyes, and that individual component of the tissues can be observed under microscope, which varies from simple light microscopes or to the electron microscopes. So this is how we can study the cells as well as the tissues or the organs. So you see the cell. The cell, this is the functional unit of all tissues, and this cell has the capacity to perform individually all the essential life functions. And as you know, the cells of all animals, they are covered by a plasma membrane. The cells of animals, they are covered by the plasma membranes, and they contains the nucleus and the cytoplasm. So now within the cytoplasm, because cell shape is given by the plasma membranes, so within the cytoplasms you will find the cell organelles and the cell inclusions. Now what do you understand by the cell organelles, and what do you understand by the cell inclusion? So cell organelles means they are embedded into the cytoplasmic matrix. Cell organelles, they are embedded into cytoplasmic matrix, and they are found almost all cells. And these organelles are generally membrane bounded, okay, membrane delimited or a membrane bounded structures which are having their own metabolic functions. And the membranes of these organelles, they divide the cytoplasm into several species and segregate the interior of the organelles from cytoplasmic matrix. So in generally, what do you mean by organelles is that they are the membrane bounded structures which are having their own metabolic functions. Okay. So now what do we mean by the cell inclusions? So inclusion means they are the, in simple form, they are the metabolic end product of the cell activity, or the term inclusion comprises several accumulation of metabolic product which are excluded temporarily from the active metabolism of the cell. So for example, lipid droplets, glycogen particles, okay, protein crystals, pigments, granules. So these are the inclusions. So inclusions are the byproduct of the cell metabolism, and organelles are the membrane bounded structures which perform their specific functions. Okay? Yeah. Still, it is almost 76 student joins. Is the slide is visible? Okay. Now it is okay. Yeah. Just a minute. Slide is visible or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, some problem arises. Now, you see, first we know the differences between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. So prokaryotic cells and our animals, the eukaryotic cells, what is the difference? So in the eukaryotic cells, we have a flexible cell membrane, but in the prokaryotic cells, we have the rigid cell wall. So in prokaryotic cells, cytoplasm, they do not have the organelles. Okay, and in eukaryotic cells, we will find the organelles as well as the cytoskeleton. In prokaryotic cells, cell division occurs by the process of fission, and in eukaryotic, cell division occurs by mitosis. You won't find a nucleus in the prokaryotic cells, but there is a nucleus, prominent nucleus in the eukaryotic cell. So, as I have told you, what are the main components of the cells? So, what you will find that the cell structures will be given by the plasma membrane or the cell membranes. So inside the cells you will find the cell organelles or the cellular organelles and the cell inclusions. So by this time we know what is organelles. These are the membrane bounded structures that perform specific cell function. What is inclusions? They are the metabolic end product of the cell, or they are the product of the cell metabolism. Now, so here today we will discuss some of the important cell organelles. First, we'll go to the cell membranes. So cell membranes. So these cell membranes, which give the shape of the cells or which cover the cell. Okay. So generally, this cell membrane is about 7 to 10 nanometer in diameters. And if you see under electron microscopes, you will find that is a trilaminar structures, 2 electron dense and a 1 electron lucent layer. And here the model we'll discuss, this is called as the fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Okay, so what this model says, in this model, this cell membrane, it consists of the what is called the phospholipid bilayers. Have you seen? There is phospholipid bilayer. This is one phospholipid layers. This is another phospholipid bilayers. Okay. So in this model, this is called as the fluid mosaic models. In this model, so hydrophilic polar end. Okay. So this is have you seen the hydrophilic polar ends of these molecules? They will be at the surfaces. This surface is my pointer is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here the hydrophilic polar end is visible in these surfaces. Okay. The external surface as well as the internal surface of the plasma membrane. So this is the hydrophilic polar ends. So their hydrophobic non-polar, it is called as tail. Hydrophobic non-polar tails remain at the center. Here hydrophobic non-polar tail is at the center. So this is called as the lipid bilayer. Hydrophilic end at the surfaces, hydrophilic polar end, okay, at the surfaces both sides, and there, and this is also called as the head, hydrophilic, and the hydrophobic tail will be remain at the center opposing its layer. Clear? So within these lipid bilayers, you may find certain proteins. Within these lipid bilayers, you may find certain proteins. So what happens? These some of the proteins, have you see some of the proteins, they may protrude through the layers completely. Some of the proteins, they can go from one side to the another sides, okay, completely. And some proteins you may see, they will be at the remain of the surface or at the periphery. They cannot go or they cannot move throughout they cannot extend through the entire membranes. So some will be extending through the lipid bilayers and some will be at the periphery. Okay, so those proteins remain at the periphery. This is called as the peripheral membrane protein. And mostly these peripheral membrane proteins, you will find they will be at the cytoplasmic surfaces. Okay, and those proteins, they can extend the entire membrane. They will be called as the transmembrane proteins. So transmembrane proteins, they may cross the membranes. Clear? And normally these protein act as a pores within these fluid mosaic models. Okay. So here one point I have forgotten to tell you. So cell is covered by the plasma membrane, is not it? So once the cell is covered by the plasma membrane, so it will act with the cell will act with the two environment. Okay, that is internal and external environment. So internal environment means all the components of the cell. So while talking about the external environment, cell normally act with two external environment. One will be the adjacent cells. Adjacent cells. Suppose, as for example, two of your friends are standing together. So both of you will be act with the two external environments. Your internal environment is external environment means one will be your friends, another will be the what is called the spaces in between both of you will find. So that is called as similarly cell will also act with the two external environment. One is called as the intercellular spaces, another is its adjacent cell. Okay, so this model of having lipid bilayers with the hydrophilic polar end at the surfaces and the hydrophobic non-polar tail at the centers. Okay, and incorporation of the proteins within this membrane. So what are those proteins? Some proteins which are located at the surfaces, mostly at the cytoplasmic surfaces, will be called as the peripheral membrane proteins. And some proteins, they will be extending throughout the phospholipid bilayer. They will be called as the transmembrane protein. Clear? And these proteins act as the pores. So in addition to this, you can find, especially on the external surface of the plasma membrane, especially of the animal cells, you will find many plasma proteins or the lipids. You will find here they will be conjugated in these areas. I will just come to the next slides. Have you seen the same here? The protein channel it is showing. So if you go especially on its, have you seen? I am not talking because you will find two external surface. Now this is you will find external surface, okay, and the cytoplasmic surfaces. So normally at the cytoplasmic surfaces you will find the peripheral membrane proteins. So in the, what happens in the external surface, on this what is called phospholipid molecules, especially in the animal cells, you may find certain lipids and protein conjugations. That means that is the glycoprotein and glycolipids. They will be conjugated together and they present at the external surface of the cells. Okay, and this particular layer means conjugation of glycoprotein and glycolipids on the external surface of the cell membrane. So that will be called as glycocalyx. So remember, now what in simple form, what we understand by glycocalyx? Conjugation of glycoproteins and the glycolipid on the external surface of the plasma membranes in certain animal cells is called as glycocalyx. And the main function of this glycocalyx is cell recognition phenomenon, especially cell recognition, adhesion of the cell, as well as absorption of the molecules. So this is in short about the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. So the model of the cell membrane, what we discussed, this is called as the fluid mosaic model. So what is in general the fluid mosaic model? You will find two lipid bilayers with their hydrophilic end at the surfaces and hydrophobic tails at the center. On this model, you will find certain protein exchanging through the membrane, certain protein at the periphery of the periphery. So at the periphery, this will be called as the peripheral membrane proteins. At the extending through the entire phospholipid layer will be called as a transmembrane protein. Okay. So in addition to that, in certain animal cells, you may find on the external surface there is conjugation of glycoproteins and glycolipids, which helps in the cell recognition, cell adhesion, as well as the absorption of molecules of the cell surface. This is called as the glycocalyx. So next we'll go to again some of the important organelles. That is first the organelles of the protein synthesis. So what are those organelles? This is the nucleus, the endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, and ribosomes. Okay, so how they are inside the cell, the nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, okay, as well as the what is called Golgi apparatus and ribosome. So here you can see the nucleus. Normally, what is the shape of the nucleus? Do you have any idea from your 10+2 studies? The nucleus. Yes, please. Hello. Yes, right. So these nuclei, and one important point with the nucleus is that it is the largest cellular organelle. So inside the cell you will find many organelles, but the nucleus is the largest cellular organelle. And its general shape is spherical to ovoid, but there may be they may be spindle shape also you will find in the smooth muscles, maybe bean shape, certain monocytes you will find, or the multi-lobe nuclei you will find leukocytes. These are the varies, but in general shape it is a spherical to avoid in shape nucleus. And normally you see these nucleus, they are mostly observed in the interface of the cell cycles. And these nucleus, if you see under electron microscopes, so you will find that it is having the nuclear membrane. Have you seen the nuclear membranes? And these nuclear membranes, okay, it's having two layers under electron microscope. One is the outer nuclear membrane, another is inner nuclear membrane. Outer and the inner nuclear membrane, and inside the nucleus you will find the nucleolus as well as the chromatin materials. Here more specifically you can see this is the inner nuclear membrane, okay, and then the outer nuclear membrane. But what happens if we see the outer nuclear membrane, it is not continuous like the inner nuclear membrane. So outer nuclear membrane, okay, so there is certain spaces in between, and these spaces will be called as the nuclear pore. So nuclear pores, because where there is interruption of the nuclear membrane, okay, and especially this outer nuclear membrane, it is attached with the ribosome. You can see some dot structures. Have you seen? Okay. Outer nuclear membrane, it is studded with or it is attached with the ribosomes, and normally this is continuous with the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And the cytoplasm, I think you can know from the 10 plus to the cytoplasm inside the nucleus is called as the nucleoplasm. Here you can see this nucleoplasm. Okay, nucleoplasm. And inside the nucleus, what you will find is nucleolus and the chromatin material. So if you go more specifically, this chromatin material, it occurs in two forms. That is, you know, probably one is called as heterochromatin, another is euchromatin. So now how they differ, hetero and euchromatin? Always remember, euchromatin means active form of chromatins, and normally this euchromatin occurs at the center. But while we're talking about a heterochromatin, they will be found at the periphery, clump-like structure at the periphery of the nucleus. They are inactive, means in a cell, if you will find more numbers of euchromatin, that is an active cell. If a cell is dominated by more amount of the heterochromatin, that the cell is in the inactive state. Active cell means more of euchromatin. Inactive cell means more of heterochromatin. Okay. Okay. So inside the, in addition to the chromatin material, you will find inside the nucleus is the nucleolus. So this size of this nucleolus is also what is called activity dependence. Okay. So cells with pronounced protein synthesis, they require more ribosomes here. And if you go under, I am not going at undergraduate level to details. If you see under electron microscope, here also nucleolus, there are three different areas you will find. Okay, inside the nucleus. If you go at master level, you will know what are the different three parts of the nucleolus, like pars fibrosus, you will find. Okay, then intercellular inactives, fibular center, you will find the different areas you will find. So next is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So how many types of endoplasmic reticulum is there inside the cell? Do you have any idea?
Two types.
Huh? Yes. So you will find two different types of endoplasmic reticulum. One is the rough, another is the smooth. Rough is called as the granules. Smooth, agranular, there is no granules. So why the roughness is come? Rough endoplasmic reticulum, the name itself is given because their cisterns are attached or studded with the ribosomes. You can see on the membrane, you can see they are attached with the ribosome. rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, and normally these rough endoplasmic reticulum, they are continuous with the outer nuclear layer or the outer membrane of the nucleus. Okay, and they are rough due to the attachments of these ribosomes, and this rough endoplasmic reticulum pertaining to the functions of the ribosomes, they are presents more number in those cells which shall mainly perform the protein secreting functions. That means rough endoplasmic reticulum main function is the synthesis of protein, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, I'm going to this. So from here itself you will find, so how this smooth endoplasmic reticulum are termed as? Normally, smooth endoplasmic reticulum is called as the last part or the terminal part of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is free of ribosome. So actually it is a continuous, the rough and smooth. After rough, smooth comes. So smooth is the continuation of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is devoid of ribosome or which is free of ribosome. That is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And from the structure itself, you know this smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they give rise to many vesicles, transport vesicle. You can see this is the rough endoplasmic reticulum attached with the ribosomes. Their terminal part is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which is devoid of the ribosome. You won't find the ribosome. And as I told you, rough endoplasmic reticulum, they are continuous with the nuclear envelope. Okay, nuclear envelope or nuclear outer nucleus layer. Here, this is the structure of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. You can see, which is the terminal free part of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and their main function, what is called, in give rise to the transport vesicle. And this smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they are normally present in steroid secreting cells, as well as the cells where the detoxification is needed. In the hepatocytes, you will find, okay, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So what happens? They related with the detoxification reactions. So you see that alcohols, opioid components, all their metabolism takes place. Okay. So what happens if more alcohol is taken? So this smooth endoplasmic reticulum have to metabolize all these chemicals, alcohols in the hepatocytes. Okay, there will be expansion of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which is not good for the health. So next we'll go to the Golgi complex, Golgi body, okay, and the associated vesicles. So what is Golgi complex? If you see under electron microscopes, you can see this Golgi complex. You will find that it is called a Golgi stalk. It contains the many associated tubules and vesicles. Parallel tubules and vesicles you will find. Okay, and it's having the two face or the two end. Many associated tubules and vesicles which having two end or the two face. One is called as the immature phase. This phase is the immature phase, or immature phase is also called as cis phase. Immature phase or the cis phase. Another is called as mature phase or the trans phase. So normally what you will find, what is Golgi complex? It consists of many membrane bounded tubules, okay, tubules and vesicle, which is two phase or the two end, immature phase or the cis phase, and the mature phase or the trans phase. Clear? So what happens this immature and the mature phase? So as I have told you, so it is all continuation. The proteins is synthesized with the signals come from the nucleus, okay, with the messenger RNA. Proteins will be synthesized with the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And this rough endoplasmic reticulum, once the protein is synthesized in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So correctly assembled proteins, so they will be loaded into the vesicles. So these vesicles, where from it will come? This vesicle will be given by the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum will form the vesicles. So proteins coming from the rough endoplasmic reticulum will be loaded in the tract. The tract is the vesicle from the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And the protein loaded tract will get the entry into the cis phase or the immature phase of the Golgi complex. So protein came from rough endoplasmic reticulum, loaded in the tract from the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The tract will arrive at the cis or the immature phase of the Golgi complex. Then modifications of the proteins or the final shape of the proteins will be going up. Here, 3 different functions will be carried out within the Golgi complex, while the proteins will be moving from the immature phase to the mature phase. So then these proteins, it will go from the immature phase, and then a final product will release at the mature phase or the trans phase, and from there the proteins, it will go to the transport vesicles merging with the endosomes that I am coming with to the plasma membrane or to the lysosomes as per their functions. If it is an enzyme product, it will go to the lysosome. If the protein is for extracellular use, then it will go for the exocytosis to the outside of the cell. Okay? Golgi complex? Yeah. So then the mitochondria. So mitochondria, it is called as the powerhouse of the cell. It is also known as the powerhouse of the cell. So if you see under electron microscope, so this mitochondria you may find is having 2 layers. One is called as outer mitochondrial membrane, another is called as the inner mitochondrial membrane. Inner mitochondrial membrane. Okay, so outer mitochondrial membrane and the inner mitochondrial membrane. So what happens? This inner mitochondrial membrane is thrown into many folds, thereby they form the cristae. Inner mitochondrial membrane is thrown into folds, and these folds there is known as the cristae of the mitochondria, and that is filled up with the mitochondrial matrix. Matrix. Okay, so in the mitochondrial matrix, you will find the DNA materials. The what is called mitochondrial matrix. Clear? So between the outer membrane and the inner membrane, there is space. This is the intermembranous space, and inner membrane is thrown into fold, thereby they form the cristae. Cristae is filled up with the mitochondrial matrix, and this mitochondrial matrix contains DNA. And especially what are the DNA you will find in the mitochondrial matrix is circular type of DNA. And circular type of DNA normally you will find in the virus, that is called as viral DNA. So the mitochondrial DNA is equivalent to the viral DNA, circular type of DNA. Clear? So in addition to the DNA, you will find some amount of RNA also in the mitochondrial matrix. That's why they are able to go for own protein synthesis. So mitochondria is called as semi-autonomous organelles because they can synthesize some of their proteins, own proteins. Okay, by the presence of their little bit of RNA within the mitochondrial matrix and the cristae of the mitochondria. Any point here? Just a minute. Next, we'll go to the endosome and lysosomes. What is endosomes and lysosomes? So, but it will be continuation with that of the smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum. So, what is this endosome and lysosomes? So, actually, these endosome, these are the polymorphic membrane-bounded tubules and vesicles. So, endosome is two types. One is called as early endosome, one is late endosome. Early and the late endosome. Early endosomes are located near to the plasma membrane. Be attentive. Early endosomes are located near to the plasma membrane, and late endosomes are located near to Golgi complex and nucleus. Okay, and accordingly they receive the materials. Okay, or they fuse with the heterophagosomes, and later on they become the lysosomes. Okay, because if, as I have told you, some proteins will be synthesized in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, come through the vesicles of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, entering the Golgi complex to the immature phase, going through the mature phase, and they coming out in the form of transferred vesicle, and they may fuse with the early endosome, and accordingly they become the lysosome. Okay, so then you see the materials which are need for digestion, within the cells, they reach the lysosome via three route. What are these three route? Endocytosis, phagocytosis, and autophagy. Endocytosis, phagocytosis, and autophagy. By these three routes, materials pertaining to digestions arrive at the lysosomes. So what is endocytosis? It is membrane internalization of secretory vesicles. Okay. And yes. One student. Oh, I have been auto joining. What is the problem coming up? I don't know. Now is visible or no? Yeah. So endocytosis is referred not only to membrane internalization of secretory vesicle, but also to uptake of macromolecules into endocytotic vesicles and their selective transport within or across the cell. And if the fluid is ingested, fluid material is ingested via the small vesicle, then this process is termed as pinocytosis. If the ingestion is particulate matter, that is called as phagocytosis. That is also cell drinking or cell eating. If it is cell drinking, that is pinocytosis. Cell eating, that is called as phagocytosis. If liquid material is ingested, that is called as pinocytosis. If solid particle is ingested, that is called as phagocytosis. So now you see the phagocytosis. It is, you can say it is a regulated endocytotic process. So this phagocytosis, again, there are three times. You can see sometimes what happens, the microorganism, our RBCs, damaged cells, they may be phagocytous. Okay. Because RBC, what is the lifespan of RBC?
120 days.
120 days. After days, they are phagocytous. Okay. So this process is called as the heterophagy, during which plasma membrane invaginate, detach, and forms phagosome. They fuse with the late endosome or lysosomes, and this process is called as heterophagy. Okay, phagocytosis of any microorganisms, RBCs, or the MS cells. But what happens? Suppose rough endoplasmic reticulum, they perform protein synthesis functions. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum, okay, they functions, the thyroid hormone synthesis functions, steroid production. So certain times what happens, these organelles, they become obsolete, they're outdated. So they need to dispose from the cell, okay. So these cellular organelles, when they become obsolete, they are disposed through the autophagy. This is called as autophagy. Clear? And what happens in certain period, there will be some excess production of secretory vesicles within the cells, or there is some damaged, okay, damaged or the aged secretory vesicles within the cell. Sometimes what happens, suppose as I know what is called smooth endoplasmic reticulum will give rise to the vesicle. If there is more production or excess production of the vesicles, or due to the production there is certain damage in the vesicles, or some vesicles are aged, okay, so they are removed by the process of phagocytosis. So that is called as the crinophagy. Three terminology: heterophagy, autophagy, crinophagy. Heterophagy means phagocytosis of microorganisms, RBC, and MS cells. That is the heterophagy. Autophagy means when any of the cellular organelles inside the cells, maybe mitochondria, rough endoplasmic reticulum, or whatever it may be, when the cellular organelles become obsolete. So phagocytosis of those cellular organelles is termed as autophagy. When phagocytosis of excess, damage, or any aged secretory vesicle occurs, then that is called as crinophagy. So remember, heterophagy, autophagy, and crinophagy. Then the lysosomes, that you know, they are a membrane-bounded vesicle, and they contain hydrolytic enzymes, and that function optimally in the pH of 5. Okay, around 30 lysosomal enzymes identified so far. So this is the showing actually this chart, okay, showing how this endocytotic vesicle is come, okay. This is the early endosome maturation, okay. They come, endosome means, you see the early endosome near the plasma membrane it remains, okay, early endosome. So while we are talking about the late endosome, it will be near to the Golgi complex. This is their secretory process is showing, so we are not going to the details about this. Here the plasma membrane, the early endosomes, then it become late endosome, and ultimately it becomes the lysosomes. So any point here, otherwise we will go to the cytoskeleton. Or first we will go to the cytoplasmic inclusions. Is the slide is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what do you mean by the inclusion? Just now I told you. Inclusion means they are the
Metabolic end product.
Yes, in general they are the metabolic end product of the cell, or they are the product of the cellular metabolism. Most prevalent inclusion you will find glycogen particle, lipid particles, melanin. Okay, so what is glycogen? What do you understand by glycogen? So it's the major storage form of carbohydrate. Glycogen, it is the major storage form of carbohydrate. Is particularly abundant in liver and skeletal muscle cells, and they can be demonstrated with PAS reaction. PAS means periodic acid skip. Of course, This is at the for master's undergraduate level, hardly they ask, but I have just given you for reference. PAS. PAS means periodic acid-skip reactions. You can stain the glycogen or the base carmine stain. What is lipid? So it is a fat stored in adipose cells. It is seen in the form of droplets which is not having the or which is devoid of bounding membrane. They can be stained with osmic acid fixation or in Sudan 3 stain. This is the dyes or the stain by which this particular inclusion can be stained to see under microscope. For glycogen, PAS reaction or a base carmine stain. For lipid, Sudan 3 stain. So what is melanin? Melanin, dark brown to black pigment. The dark brown to black pigments occurs primarily in the eye and in the integument. And it is synthesized by melanocytes and from granules, melanosomes. Sometimes it asks the melanin, okay. The melanin is synthesized by melanocytes and forms the granule named as the granules of the melanin is known as melanosomes. Melanosomes, the granules of the melanin, melanosomes. And that may be transferred to the other cells such as keratinocytes. And melanin, they can be demonstrated by Mason-Fontana method. So I am giving you the stains, but undergraduate level, actually it is hardly asked about the stains. Okay. But still I have given you the glycogen, which can be stained by PAS reaction, lipid, by Sudan 3, melanin, by Mason-Fontana method. Then the hemosiderin. Hemosiderin is golden brown pigment, occur as granular cytoplasmic inclusions. Granular cytoplasmic inclusion in phagocytes. It contains irons, okay, which makes its distinction from the other pigments of similar colors. And hemosiderin can be stained with pulse Prussian blue method. Lipofucsin, a golden brown pigment, commonly found in cardiac muscle, liver, and some nerve cell. It is the morphologically heterogeneous and product of lysosomal activities. They are demonstrated by Gleaner's method. So now, what is the difference between hemosiderin and lipofucsin? Hemosiderin also golden brown pigment. Lipofucsin also golden brown pigment. So what is the difference? Location, as well as if you see hemosiderin, it contains iron. That makes it distinct from other pigments of similar color. So hemosiderin means you will find iron. But lipofucsin, though it is golden brown pigment common found in the cardiac muscle, you won't find. Hemosiderin means iron is there. Okay, that makes it different from the other pigment of the same color. The same color is lipofucsin. Clear? Should I continue with the cytoskeleton? Or any queries in between?
No, sir.
Okay. So I'll just give a brief idea of the cytoskeleton, then I will stop it today. The cytoskeleton, skeleton inside the cell, that is a cytoskeleton. Skeleton inside the cell. What is this? It consists of internal framework of minute filaments and tubules. That means, what is cytoskeleton? It consists filaments and tubules that give a structural support and helps in the movement of organelles and inclusion. Very easiest way to remember, they are the tubules and filaments. Cytoskeletons are the tubules and filaments that give structural support of the cell and helps in the movements of the organelles and metabolites, intracellular movement within the cell. And what is these filaments? You see the microfilaments. They are made of the protein actin, major component. It is associated with two accessory protein, troponin and tropomyosins. So microfilaments. And the myosins occurs only in striated muscle cells. All mammalian cells, however, contain myosin in the small filaments, usually not detected with electron microscope. Then you will find the intermediate filaments. Intermediate filaments normally 8 to 10 nanometer in diameter. So these intermediate filaments, there are 5 different types. Intermediate filaments on the basis of their chemical composition. One is keratin filaments. Keratin filament you will find stratified squamous epithelium. Desmin filament, striated muscle. Hymentin filaments, particularly you will find around the nucleus, many cell types you will find. And neurofilaments, major portion of the neurons and astrocytes. So intermediate filaments are different, 5 different types. They range from 8 to 10 nanometer diameters. And what are those 5 types? Keratin, desmin, hymentin, and the neurofilaments. Keratin in the stratified squamous epithelium, desmin, striated muscles, hymentins, you will find many cell types, and neurofilaments, especially in the neurons and astrocytes. So this is about the filaments. So cytoskeleton means filaments and tubules. Now, what are the tubules? So microtubules, whose wall is composed of protofilaments and plays an essential role in cell division, mitotic spindle formation. So during the cell division, you see, during cell division, if you use a drug called as colchicine, that inhibits the spindle formation and causes the arrest of mitosis. And these microtubules are the major structural component of the cilia. They form centrioles and basal bodies. So remember, so microtubule means how they are formed. Microtubules wall are composed of protofilaments. Microtubule means their wall is formed of protofilaments and they take part in cell division. So during cell division process, if you utilize a drugs in many what is called competitive exam, they ask this question: the addition or use of colchicine drug to rapidly dividing cell in culture inhibit what? Or they simply ask the addition of what to rapidly dividing cell in culture inhibits mitotic spindle formation and cessation of arrestes. The addition of which compound or which drug? So a colchicine is a drug. Okay. So addition of colchicine to the dividing cell in a culture inhibits spindle formation. In many earlier GRF exam, they have asked this question: addition of which to the rapidly dividing cell in culture inhibits spindle formation. So microtubules are the major structural component of cilia. They form centrioles and basal bodies. So this is about the cytoskeleton structures. Okay. And if no more queries, I will stop it here. Okay. Then the next class I will continue with the rest of the cytology topic. So Patil sir is here.
Hi, I'm here. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Sir, good elaborative lecture.
Yes, sir.
Now the topic open for discussion. If student is having any question, please ask.
Yeah. Students, friend, if you have any queries, sir. Actually, I am also having one meeting today. This is for our PG. What is called comprehensive exam at 12.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes, students, friend, if you have any queries. Okay. So regarding today's lecture, no, I will give you the text material by WhatsApp. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I will give you in the CR. No, CR will give you. And it will take another maybe 2 hours because right now I am having a meeting from 12. Okay. So if there is no query, we'll meet in the next Saturday. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.